So, good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to our weekly broadcast. Thursday morning, 10 a.m., 30-minute, fast paced market overview of the property market in the UK, a few educational tips, and then a special guest. So, these have really went well, even just since the turn of the new year, and we're delighted that you've taken time to spend this time with us. Let me say a very quick hello to our special guest today, Mark Fernihough. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, down
Brilliant.
here in
And
not quite so sunny Cornwall today, but it's still pretty good. Dry.
it looks a bit more sunny probably than what I'm seeing out the window here in Northern Ireland. So we'll have a test of who's seeing more sun. But yeah, look forward to hearing from you. And morning again to John Corey, Property Fortress.
Good morning.
Morning. And of course, our very own Asher Weiner, head of online marketing and social media at LEOcrowdfunding. Morning, Asher.
Morning, David. How are you?
Very, very
Well,
well, very well.
lovely.
So let's get stuck straight into this market overview. I've just picked a couple of brief snippets from the local press. I suppose the people are waited with bated breath at the minute, Asher, for stamp duty extension. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Is there any sort of latest on that the last couple of days?
So apparently, that is going to be in talks next week. There's been 130,000 plus signatures on petition sites to get this to move forward. So I think I guess the people are signing up, and thankfully the government might be listening. So hopefully we'll get some good news on that next week.
Yeah, very much so. I suppose it's an area of certainty too. The uncertainty
Of course.
isn't helpful. If there's certainty either way, at least people can make decisions from there. Then there's
I'd
the help.
actually be a supporter of not having an extension, in that it's this idea that we keep having these short bursts and we have these last minute decisions, and it sort of pulls forward and push back sales. It's rather disruptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. People sometimes the only thing that's worse than certainty is the uncertainty. At least if you know exactly what's happening for the next 6 9 months, you can set your strategy accordingly. Um, so the other thing then that's out there which will impact the market is the Help to Buy equity loan scheme, which has been extended. So that's going to have a positive impact. And then I thought the last one I chose just sort of for the high level overview is the estate agents raising concerns about house hunters traveling the length and breadth of the country looking at homes, which of course is in direct violation of the current lockdown rules. So I thought that was quite funny, Asher, to sort of read that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, nowadays you can figure out 90% of the deal without having to visit the site, So all with the possibility of doing it online. Not that I would ever put money into it wouldn't be the best idea going and not going down to the project yourself before you buy it. But yeah, now it can mostly be done online. You could do it
Hmm.
from the comfort of your own home and get
Hmm.
quite a couple of deals underhand.
Yeah, no, I think so. I suppose when for investor transactions, then certainly people might look at Google and look at videos. I suppose when it comes to people
Of
actually
course.
moving house, which I'm guessing this is referring more to,
Yeah.
I suppose they go on to see the area and stuff. But I think it does show that there's still obviously a demand for people to move
Of
house.
course.
That's the key thing.
Hmm.
How's property been affected in the US, John? Now that you're back over there, have there any sort of take on the market over there? Is it similar to the UK, or how's COVID impacted
So
things?
there's all kinds of ways that things happen, but in the US, I would say there's less focus on lockdown, there's less focus on not traveling. So you would think that people are still out and about. Maybe the uncertainty of the job situation or the ability to make payments. On the other side, which is a little bit very different, or maybe very different from the UK, 30-year fixed loans, I think, are now less than 3%. So it's a great time for either refinancing or purchasing when you're going to pay under 3%. Payment will never go up. So if you want to buy a house and you have some certainty about your income, all the power to you, particularly given that a lot of people have been able to save cash for down payment. So.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so there's our market overview for today. So just remind everyone, we always encourage participation. So if you have any questions or any comments you even want to make on something that somebody has said, then if you jump on to the Q&A function, then you can leave your question there, and Asher can pick up the question and ask it at the appropriate time. So try not to use the chat box. It's better in the Q&A where we can manage the comments and the questions better. And yeah, I want interaction. So please, especially on this topic we're going to do. It's a very interesting topic with Mark, and there may well be plenty of questions. So don't be shy, don't be afraid. Get your questions up, and we'll get them answered. So learn, earn, own. Part of our DNA is very much about learning. It's about education. We do trumpet that quite a bit. So just to show you that we have been delivering on that promise. What we actually did on Tuesday night was 4 back-to-back investor update project webinars. So these were closed private webinars just for the investors into these particular deals. And the fundraiser came on. This was the quarterly update. So the fundraiser came on, gave an update on the project, and then investors were able to ask questions and obviously quiz the fundraiser as to the state of the project. Asher, we had a tremendous response to these investors, really happy. But it was a bit intense going back to back on 4 of these, Asher, on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it was quite it was I mean, I think we handled it pretty well. We managed to be on time for everything. We weren't late. So yeah, generally good job. Well done, David.
Yeah. No, very much a team effort. In fact,
Yeah.
Mark, I hope you don't mind. I'll bring you in on this. I know you had said to me, as we were getting warmed up for today, that you had invested in a deal just to sort of see how the process worked. You're obviously intending, you've done a case study, you're intending to do a raise, but how did you find it as someone coming in sort of as an investor, new to crowdfunding? How did you find that sort of update?
Yeah, well, it was really informative, and it was really good actually to sort of be able to interact with the actual developer as well, and sort of getting a feel for their insights into the project, sort of some of the challenges that you always come up, sort of always have, but that you always have to sort of get over as well. And no, it was really interesting just hearing about everything, sort of start to finish, and all the progress. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, no, thank you. And definitely there was a focus on lessons learned, for people who invested in projects just to have that front row seat. They're able to take away what were the key lessons from the project. And it was different, interesting that it was different things on different projects, but certainly very valuable. So yeah, every quarter we do that, and that's certainly working by way of education. So let's get on with our special guest today. We call this our real lives section. It's real people, real property experiences. It's not just John and I and Asher talking sort of in theory about the market. We want to hear directly from people out there actually doing it, making money doing projects. And today, absolutely delighted to introduce Mark Fernihough. So Mark, thank you for taking the time to join us. Do you want to give a quick couple of minute overview on who you are, your background, and the business you run?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Well, obviously, as it says, I'm Mark Fernihough, and I'm a full-time investor and developer. Haven't always been. Used to be a car dealer, so I was a car dealer for many years, and decided that it wasn't really sort of aligned with our sort of values anymore and what we wanted to do. So yeah, we transitioned completely our sort of family interests from one industry to another, and and now have sort of developed our own sort of niche business model around our holiday let experience, business experience, and commercial property experience to now do what we do in Cornwall, sunny Cornwall, which we call residential to commercial valuation magic, Lex. So there it is, which we'll go into in more detail in a minute.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting because I know I talked to John about this earlier on the week. If you go on to probably 99% of property educational YouTubes and webinars and Facebook lives. The buzz phrase at the minute is, oh, commercial to residential. That's what
Yeah.
everyone's pushing. You're swimming against the tide. You're talking about residential to commercial, which I think is very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to deep diving into this. I mean, any comments, John, just on that aspect? I know that you were quite intrigued by that sort of strategy.
So, well, there is a bit of a buzzword or phrase here. Residential to commercial is the opposite of what everybody talks about, because everybody talks about finding a vacant warehouse, a vacant office building, pre-D conversion. Residential to commercial is all about moving from the model of comparable valuation to the model of income valuation. And Mark will explain what that is. I'll do the technical, but it's quite transformative and it's very predictable. So it's a rinse and repeat type strategy.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
so Mark, take it away. Give us your sort of take on the market, why you chose this strategy, and what your key elements are to this.
Yeah, so we are serviced accommodation operators, and we are based in what is obviously the best part of the UK, Cornwall.
Controversial,
Gotta say
controversial.
You've only got to look at the telly. Everything's about Cornwall these days. So our serviced accommodation model, we basically take effectively undervalued traditional guest houses, B&B, small hotels, and then automate and drop our business model into them, which is particularly high revenue and low cost, and utilizes more of the property than is currently being utilized by the traditional way that they tend to be managed by a sort of owner operator come host, basically. So yeah, it's completely automated. We've got all the team in place to convert these properties and then set them up, and then sort of manage them and then rinse and repeat, basically. Simple as that. But automation and systems is an enormous part of our business. We're very lean. The business model itself is very lean. The only sort of humans involved are the housekeepers, which work off the back of the software, and everything else is all sort of set up online with systems and processes and automation, basically.
Yeah. How many people are in your actual team then within Prosper Property?
Well, 3 directly at the moment, but then we tend to outsource as much as is physically possible. So we outsource, well, from a business perspective, we outsource sort of all of our admin to a VA. From a serviced accommodation perspective, everything is outsourced regarding cleaning teams, linen providers, contractors, absolutely everything. So we are, we're fairly lean. Well, we're very lean, and we like to get other people who are better at things to do things for us, basically, better than us at certain things. So
yeah, no, that's a good philosophy in business. That's why I get Ashley to do all the social media and marketing within LEOcrowdfunding, because he's the expert and I'm not. One thing I found interesting when I actually heard you on John's monthly Property Fortress, which was a really successful night. I think it was just last month, maybe it was. But one thing that struck me about your presentation and your discussion that night, while you're obviously based in Cornwall, but it's even a bit narrower than that from memory, that you really focus on sort of quite a narrow area and become an expert in that area rather than spreading your net too wide.
Yeah, exactly that. We've got sort of specific target towns and specific target areas within those towns that we focus on, purely because the difference that you can charge tourists for particular products in particular areas varies greatly. So obviously, sort of having the local knowledge of specific towns that we know work very well, and then specific areas within towns as well, which obviously just get better and better. We obviously want to be targeting the areas and the properties that we know that that will generate the most amount of revenue ultimately. Simple as that.
Yeah. Okay. So in
There's-
terms of
obviously
this,
there's
yeah. So that this strategy, the reason you've went down this route, I'm guessing is primarily because of these two big upsides that you talk about. So yeah, so to talk us through these, the annual revenue, commercial valuation, and then I'll let sort of John come in and maybe unpick it a little bit from a technical point of view.
Yeah, sure, that's no problem. So as far as the annual revenue goes, because of our sort of low cost business model and the fact that we are very automated, our costs are particularly low in comparison to the revenue from a percentage perspective. So the first big upside is sort of annual cash flow. These properties and these businesses are extremely profitable. The second massive uplift is the fact that, which is sort of hence the name residential to commercial, is the fact that we're securing these properties on bricks and mortar valuations, because they tend to be run by a couple, Mr. and Mrs., who aren't particularly business minded. They want to, well, anyone can fill rooms for a certain rate in Cornwall. Most of them undersell their product. They work really hard making breakfast, doing everything themselves, all the linen, all the cleaning for 4 or 5 months of the year. They generally trade up to the VAT threshold and then close because they're worn out from the summer. Whereas that's not a commercial model. They're almost being run as sort of hobby jobs. Now, what we do is commercialize that by running them as proper businesses, 365 days a year, obviously producing management information monthly, quarterly, and then obviously producing annual accounts to then be able to actually get them valued commercially rather than on the bricks and mortar sort of values that we've secured them on, basically. So with 2 years accounts, sort of 3 years down the line, we can then have them revalued as businesses rather than a commercial property, but being run as a hobby, basically. And that's the uplifts are great.
Actually, Mark, there's a couple questions here for you. How have you found managing all these different companies that you're mitigating to? Who you're outsourcing your operations to? How have you found managing them?
Well, we tend to sort of build relationships with, if possible, one cleaning company. So they will then obviously they need to be big enough to obviously sort of service four different properties in a couple of different towns. And obviously, as we grow, that will change. So they're sort of happy growing with us. But the vast majority of it, other than the cleaning teams, the vast majority of it is all sort of software driven. So it's all really to do with the technical setup and the initial administration to get these properties online with in the correct format with the professional photos to actually market them. But it's mainly software driven, and that initial setup needs to be done, the big setup, once, but then obviously we have processes to check and tweak things as we go, obviously. Sure. The big physical thing is housekeepers and linen. Well, the linen's quite easy, it's all rented in, and the housekeeping teams, that's the real key thing really, is the relationships with companies that want to grow with us and are happy maintaining these properties, basically.
Oh, fantastic. And also, how's your revenue been affected by the lockdown? Question.
Well, actually, we're going to touch on that in a second, actually. So if that's okay,
Yeah.
that's going to be,
Cool. That's good. Yeah, well done, Mark. I was waiting on you diving in deep into it now when there's a slide coming up. So that's brilliant. John, any comments on this before we get on with the case study?
Just a general observation for anybody who's thinking of investing, because it's essentially a commercial business, commercial property, commercial real estate. You can use your SaaS to invest in this. So there's no restrictions from that point of view. This is not a residential property. It has C1 for its planning designation.
Yeah, well pointed out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the strange thing. They are already commercial properties. They're just not actually being run as sort of professional commercial entities in a way, and that's where the resi to commercial bit comes in.
Yeah, and just to highlight, obviously John's talking about the market in general for this type of stuff. Within
Right.
property crowdfunding, there are maybe some additional hurdles for SaaS investors that would need to be clarified platform by platform. But certainly, as John rightly says, this is very much open to SaaS investors in terms of this type of investment. Absolutely. So, case study wise, this is one example. Mark, do you want to just again briefly explain how you sourced this
I can run
property,
through
why
all
you
the
chose
details.
it, and how it went?
Yeah, so this particular property is obviously Ocean House in St Ives. So we sourced this on a lease option. So we have a 5-year option on this. And this is the case study that's on the crowdfunding platform, which obviously people can access in full detail. Now we will, so we are now running this property, producing management information, producing our accounts. So after sort of 3 years' time, we will exercise our option on this property and yes, secure it. Well, we've already secured it on a bricks and mortar value, but we will be able to obviously then, commercially finance this property with our own accounts, basically. And we've done a few lease options, but sort of going forward, it's most vendors want to sell the freehold outright. So that is one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing now, working with yourselves towards doing a live raise to actually acquire these properties outright, and obviously give people the opportunity of being part of that, basically.
Yep. Okay, in terms of the case study then, if people go to our homepage, Mark has put this Ocean House property on our platform. So you can go there, you can click on it, you can see the overview of the property, the financials, the team behind Prosper Property. There's a forum there where you can leave some questions and Mark can interact with people via the forum. Also highlight the register your interest box that's there. So if this is a type of investment that you may well be interested in, then you can leave an email address, you can leave an amount that you may be interested in investing, and that's good feedback to Mark on the platform as to the level of interest in this type of a project. So it's a little bit specialist. It's not a normal, what you might call a vanilla deal of developing 4 or 5 houses, but as Mark explained, purchasing the property outright, holding it for 3 or 4 years, then having it refinanced as a commercial business is a very interesting investment proposition for someone to be involved in the purchase and then enjoy the rental income for 3 or 4 years and then be exited from the refinance. So the case study will lay all that out. There's the link, but of course you can get it directly from our homepage. Now the question was asked earlier about COVID. I think this is relevant not only to COVID but also to the model where people are going to share the income for 3 or 4 years potentially, just to give the attendees on the webinar some idea as to what the income actually is. So you can talk us through what we're seeing here with this Ocean House.
Yeah, so this literally is our trading EBITDA and occupancy from when we opened. So we opened in July 19, sort of partway through the month, actually on the 10th of the month. And so the EBITDA is the net operating income of this property, simple as that. So as you can see, we were in a brand new property with our model in it. We're instantly heavily into profit through the season, through the summer. Even in the winter, out of season, this model makes money. Obviously, the rates are different. Our clientele are tourists. We concentrate on tourists because they pay more than contractors, for example. But we do get some contractors, and more so in the winter. So as you can see, through the winter we make money. In all honesty, in sort of October, November 19, that actually dropped off much quicker than it would normally, that EBITDA figure, because we were pushing the summer rates as far as we could, really, as a bit of an experiment. and we weren't really, in all honesty, quick enough to adjust them. So we now use dynamic revenue management software to actually adjust our prices dynamically within different parameters for different seasons. So that sort of drop off won't happen again. Obviously, COVID hit in March 2020, as you can see. And we've got a negative burn of about £3,000 a month with that property completely closed, which obviously isn't ideal, but it also isn't the end of the world when, as you can see, we opened in July 2020. Again, through a part month of July, I think it was the 7th off the top of my head, and within 2 weeks, we had recouped 3 months of losses. So it's, the money is made in the season, but it's the model is still very profitable in mid-season and still makes money in the winter too. So obviously it's a seasonal business, but as you can see from the numbers, it's pretty good. So there's obviously far more financial information in the case study. So everything is in the case study, sort of regarding sort of the option to purchase, the lease amounts, the renovation. It's all in there. So it really is a case of logging on and getting the full case study document to learn as much as possible, really, and have access to it all.
Well, I actually wanted to mention as well, which is quite interesting to think about, is, I mean, during this whole, obviously, the COVID pandemic and how it relates to this. When when the lockdown happened, I was actually moving flat, and we had to go between different Airbnbs to, whilst we were looking for somewhere else. And the thing I noticed was actually the places where obviously it's all automated are much more in demand at the moment, because you don't want to be face to face with someone checking in your keys, or finding anyone really working there having to be face to face with them. And it's great to I guess it's a great thing to be behind when you're it's all automated, it's all done without you being there, but also I guess it's more of a safety thing as well, that there are minimal people going in between the rooms or the communal spaces. So it's really fantastic, and it's a great model to have, I guess.
For that reason, it works really well. Obviously, our housekeeping teams are sort of straight in and straight out doing what they need to do on a daily basis with all the correct PPE and processes and everything in place. It's far better for everyone, really, to have that automation. And funnily enough, at the moment, we are actually open for legally permitted travel, but we're benefiting at the moment for the fact that a lot of guest houses and small hotels have closed. But obviously, because of our business model and the automation, we're actually able to sort of to stay open. Whereas people, if they've effectively got guests staying in their own home, maybe don't feel safe, so they've closed. So there isn't enough, or isn't as much accommodation for the legally permitted workers and travellers. So while we're not in a total lockdown, tourists can't travel, but workers can. We're benefiting from that as well, which obviously is which is good.
Yeah. No, okay, brilliant. We're going to have to move on here and wrap up quite quickly. Just to point out one quick thing. Obviously, Mark's talked about a case study here. Past performance is not always a reliable indicator of future results, just to put that financial promotions sort of disclosure out there. But that gives you a good example of how this one has went, and obviously very, very positive. So wrapping up here then, if there's any questions, Ashley will deal with at the very, very end if we have time, and then John can wrap up his thoughts on today's broadcast. Citygate House in Leicester is currently view deal on the platform, so people can have a look at that, and we'll be announcing when this is going live very shortly. But you can access this project, 56 apartments getting built in the centre of Leicester. We then also have the Oak Gardens project, which is still currently live for investment. It's over 50% already from when we opened. And this is currently open. So again, you can download the offer document If you go to our YouTube channel, there are interviews with Tatiana. There are food project webinars you can download and have a look at. And if anyone's any questions, obviously go on the forums and Tatiana can answer the questions from the forums. There was some really positive progress on our project with the senior debt being completely confirmed and also her additional planning application being successful. So there's going to be a update go out to all the current people that have pledged and also to the database regarding the positive progress there's been on that project. So you'll be able to read about that. And then we have our Slade Witcham, which is really getting ready now to be going view deal very shortly. Been working with Adam and with Chris on this one. So I know there was a site visit just a week and a half or so ago with the senior debt and the vendor and the estate agent all on site. So everything's really looking good in this one. Looking forward to getting this one launched. So keep an eye out for that one. And then, of course, we'll just finish off with Mark's case study. You can go back and look at everything Mark's talked about. So was there any burning questions, Asher, that we need to deal with? Or
yeah, there was one last question. Was the strong EBI TDA figures in July 20 due to more people staying in the UK due to COVID? Or do you think that demand will repeat in future summers, 2021, 2022, etc.?
Yeah, it was a particularly sort of busy summer, the moment that obviously everything opened, but that is normal for Cornwall. St Ives, for example, is full in the summer. There isn't enough accommodation for the amount of people that want to come to the particular places that everyone's heard of. So yeah, that's pretty much the normal performance for that property. But it was busy this summer because of the coming out of the lockdown. So
yeah. Okay. What we'll do, Asher, is get these questions transferred onto the forum, and we can get Mark's answers up there as well, which will be good. So just by way of wrapping up, John, on today's, you can mention obviously what we do and any just comments on today's broadcast. I think it's been very interesting to hear what's been said.
Well, the biggest one for me is this is learn, earn, own. So I want people to register for the case study if they like what they see and they want to learn more about it. I want people to look at the open deals, and if you're thinking of raising money, think about putting £100 into other people's deals to understand the full process, to maximize what you can learn for little to no money. I want you to do your due diligence. I want you to literally do the whole process from the comfort of your home to learn what other people are doing so you can have better projects for yourself, or you can be a smarter investor if you're a passive investor and spread it around across deals that you like with people that are running it that you're happy to back.
Absolutely. Yep. No, that's exactly that. And Mark, you've obviously done that. You've went on and invested in someone else's project just to understand how the property crowdfunding process works, and now you're moving towards preparing your own.
Yeah, exactly that.
And for £100, you get a copy of the shareholder agreement, so you can see what a shareholder agreement looks like. I mean, the £100 pricing is all about cheaper than going on a course, and you might actually earn more money than you invested. So hallelujah.
Exactly. Okay, so obviously people know by now you can contact John or myself if you want to have a conversation about consultancy, anything to do with raising money, compliance, all those issues. You can just reach out to us. You know how you can get us, and that is us for today. So I think, Asher, that will be us for today. No more questions. We'll knock this one on the head. Mark, can I thank you very much for joining? Hope you found that enjoyable.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, 100%. And thank John for getting out of his bed at a very early hour in the US of A and gracing us with his presence once again.
Very good. Actually, you broke up there, David, but thanks everybody for attending.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheers, everyone.
All the best, guys. Stay safe. Have a good one. Bye-bye.